The 600th touchdown thrown by Tom Brady is legendary because that is a number that you have to play so long and play in so many games to get to. So to accomplish that, there's some stats and things that happen that is very much team-based. And this is definitely a team-based one. He can't throw them and catch them. We've heard that actually out of the Brady camp before. But this is one where you have to have a sustained amount of greatness to, at the hardest position in all of sports, to reach. Aaron might get there.
Maybe.
Okay. And there's a lot of great young quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes. I think a lot of people would say, hey, he's going to catch Tom in rings, people were saying. Yeah. He's going to catch him in these things. To see what he's going through right now. Remember, Tom, over a 20-year period, I think they had a home playoff game like maybe 13 of those years or 14 years. I mean, just an absolutely unbelievable run. So maybe Aaron will be able to get there. Maybe somebody else will be able to get there. But it is going to be difficult. Even though the rules are changing to be a pass-happy league, it is going to be incredibly difficult to get to 600. So he throws it to Mike Evans. And I love the fact that it seems like they did not even talk about this before the game. Like, hey, Tom might throw his 600th touchdown, which is a number that I think most of the old football people, if they would have heard, would have shit their pants immediately.
Oh, yeah.
That somebody was going to throw 600 touchdowns. It wasn't even like that. It wasn't a conversation piece, because if it was, Mike Evans would have at least been on the lookout. Remember, when Aaron threw his 400th, I think, to Devontae,
right,
there was an entire situation where Devontae had the ball ready for him. It was an entire thing. So for this one, it seemed like Mike Evans had no idea, no clue. He actually dropped the ball. Then he went and picked the ball back up, and I thought that, he was picking it back up to give it to Tom. I didn't even know it was a 600 touchdown at that point. No. Actually, it seemed as if the Buccaneers made a decision that after scoring touchdowns, they were going to give balls to the fans, much like Cam Newton did in the past with Carolina. Great way to build up a fan base. Great way to interact with the fans. Great way to look like, hey, we're all in this thing together. I enjoy it immensely, although those balls are very expensive and they mean a lot. Now, let's fast forward to 600th ball ending up in stands. Tom Brady probably going, what the fuck just happened?
Hold on.
Mike Evans going, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. He's actually, they have shots of him on the sideline being like, I did not know, which even more so, how humble is Tom and everybody around Tom, not even to mention that to anybody, like, hey, 600's about to happen. So what happens after front row gets it, and then equipment managers who are immediately going to grab that and save that for Tom or whatever. And that's what happens whenever, for instance, I had a fumble recovery in a game and I walked off the field with it. And they asked for the ball back, and I said, no, thank you. And I gave it to Frog, our equipment manager. I tossed it to Frog. I was like, I'm going to keep this ball. This is a fun recovery. He's like, okay, you want to kick this ball, though, right? The rest of the game? It's the best ball we got? Yeah. He's like, I'll go give it back to the guy you just told to go fuck yourself. Okay, yeah. But it's the equipment managers that grab it, anything, whether it's whatever the case. The equipment managers grab it, they put it away, then they give it to you afterwards. So the equipment managers probably, oh shit, here, I got to go find this ball. So they go over and have this negotiation with old buddy over there. Okay, you see the negotiations happen. The cheerleaders are actually walking through the shot while old buddy is that, whoever's doing the negotiating there, I don't know if it's equipment manager, if it's somebody else in there, director of football operations maybe, whoever's on the sideline. In his mind, that is one of the biggest negotiations he's ever been a part of.
Oh, yeah.
By far.
Now, Tony Romo is describing it in an incredibly interesting fashion that I don't think anybody...
He's a weirdo.
Might have been boozed up, so we don't know. We're not sure.
Corona
True
Tone,
on
his
both
description
accounts.
of what that negotiation was very fascinating.
Wild.
And I wish Tom Brady would actually come out and say, by the way, I wouldn't agree to that, whatever was being said there for this ball. But everybody on the internet was on the side of the sombrero man holding the ball, and I understand that because that is a magical moment. I also wore sombreros to parties and things like that. I think it's a good idea, especially in Tampa, incredibly sunshine, in a sunshine state, you can get burnt. And everybody was saying, you do not give that ball back. You do not give that ball back. And we got Ken Golden of Golden Sports Auctioneers getting tweeted out and saying he's guessing that it's worth $500,000. That ball immediately, it's worth $500,000. And there's other people saying he can't give his ball back and everything like that. It has allegedly been negotiated that the guy who had the 600 touchdown ball accepted a deal from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that will give him a different game ball that was used, a $1,000 gift card to the team store, a helmet, couple nice jersey, and something nice in return from Brady. So this guy's going to get a bunch of shit from Tom Brady, probably be a part of a documentary or 5 at some point. Maybe him and Tom go have some lunch and dinner or whatever, get to experience that. And everybody on the internet's worried about that 600th ball not being his anymore. What about Tom Brady? What about Tom wanting to have his 600th ball at the house?
Yeah.
Anybody ever think about old Tom Brady, who's going to give this guy probably $1 million worth of experiences? Everybody's worried about the 600 ball. What's that all about? Everybody was telling him that guy should have told the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go fuck themselves and kept the ball. It's like, that's insane. And that would not have been my first thought, I guess, especially if Tom Brady's like, we'll do some cool, we'll do some shit. How about that? And people are like, should not have given the ball. I'm like, what are we talking about?
No, definitely not. I mean, you go into the game, it's not like that guy expected to get that ball anyway. So anything, once you have it, that's pretty cool. But I was thinking
$500,000.
You're also not expecting
Yeah.
to win the lottery, but if you do,
well, true.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I was also thinking hey, if the NFL really wanted that ball, they let that guy leave the stadium and shoot him in the back of the head and get the ball back.
Whoa.
If the NFL
I don't know.
If they really wanted that ball back, they'd get that ball back, and we'd never hear from that guy again.
So there's been people that have had balls, I think, in the audience and then in the stands, and security has come and just taken the ball from them, whether it be a kicking ball or something else like that. And that's why I found it so fascinating that everybody was like, yeah, you give that ball back. You better not give that ball back. It was like, I think they're going to get that ball if they want to. The fact that he's just becoming a friend now almost, or getting all this other shit from Tom, I think that is quite a benefit. I thought he handled it very well. I thought the guy was like, oh, you got to give me something for this in return. Great. Great idea there. Let's go ahead and make something out of this. Let's make this a business venture. But everybody that was saying, you can't give that ball back, I'm like, what the I guess $500,000 is $500,000, but is Ken Golden paying that? is Tom Brady? Who's paying
I'm
that?
very torn because if you're a fan of the team and a fan of Brady, you give the ball back because that's your responsibility as a fan. But also if you're a fan of yourself, I was very torn on it. I don't know what I would do. I would give it back probably.
You would not have given it back?
No, I think I would have.
Well, they were going to get it from you anyways.
Right.
Yeah,
that was just to your point. Everybody on the internet was basically like, no, you keep that ball or whatever. It was like, I think he got out with a lot of shit out of that.
For sure.
I think $1,000 team story. That's going to get you 2 jerseys.
Yeah, right.
That'll get you 2 jerseys.
New ones.
If that thing's stitched on, and maybe you get Tom to sign those, and maybe put a message on it if we're looking to sell stuff and make money off of it or whatever. But I think they would have got that ball from him if he wanted. So him even getting anything was a great move. But we live in a world where maybe he was able to put that thing up for sale. How about the NFT of him negotiating?
Exactly.
There you go.
And now we're something as well. We live in a world where he could profit off of this, definitely.
Well, and also if he is a Brady fan, like you said, the $1 million worth of experiences, why? It's hey, you're getting to meet, your favorite player and probably, going out to lunch with him. If you're a prick about that and nah, I'm keeping this fucking ball, that's never happening, So it's it almost seems like it'd be a no-brainer to kind of try
Imagine, though, if that guy gets that ball, goes out in the parking lot, takes a picture of it, puts it up on old Ken Golden's auction thing, and somebody says, yep, I'll take it, $500,000. And by the time he gets to his car on the way out of there, he has a check for $500,000.
That would be pretty sweet.
That would be fucking awesome.
Or you force Brady and David Baker to go into an auction on their own, and then they're just bidding for it. Because I honestly thought David Baker was going to come down in the stands, pick that guy up, and just carry him out with the ball.
Well, David Baker did retire. You know what I mean? David Baker did retire, but the Hall of Fame, because they got all of Justin Tucker's, they got in Justin Tucker's entire uniform, his cleats, the ball, and everything for that 66-yarder. I always thought that the player had to okay it. The player, you can have it, you can have it. Like Tom, I think he took the 600 ball home.
Yeah.
So if that was to end up in the Hall of Fame, which you would expect and assume it would end up there, I think Tom would have to give that to the Hall of Fame. Or does the Hall of Fame in the NFL have the ability to take whatever? I don't know. I honestly do not know the answer.
I think it's loaned sometimes. I think the
like
Tucker
a museum,
stuff,
like
I
a
think Tucker might get that stuff back.
Yeah, I would hope that at some point Tucker would be able to put that in his own, because that would be,
Well,
I have some balls from some games that I like. Nowhere near Hall of Fame worthy, but there's some shit in the house that you look at, you're like, oh, that's pretty. I remember that moment. That's basically what a museum is, I guess.
It's kind of like what Irsay does with his music collection, right? He'll loan certain pieces to a museum for a couple weeks and then he gets them back. But he does, because he wants people to be able to see it. So he does just loan it out and then gets it in return.
I wonder if they tell you at the Hall of Fame, this thing's only here for another month. Hey, you want to come see the cleats that Justin Tucker kicked that 66-yarder with? You better get to Canton, Ohio in the next 32 days. This contract is expiring. Justin Tucker said if he don't have these fucking cleats by the 33rd day, he is going to beat your ass. So that would be, is that something they got to do? Or is it just an ever-changing amount of shit in there because there's just such a depth in the NFL.
Well, for Brady too, you assume they're going to have like a whole section of just his stuff. So you wonder if that he actually is down to like give them jerseys from Super Bowls and that type of stuff because he knows he's going to have his own wing of the place.
So then those jerseys and Super Bowls is an entire another conversation because, I mean, we saw an Emmitt Smith video that just rekindled some memories. I've seen some teammates potentially, have one jersey for early warm-up, one jersey for later warm-up, one jersey for first half, one jersey for second half, and then those are all game-worn jerseys.
Of course.
Yeah, of course, because they were worn on game day on the field. There's an entire, for instance, I saw a guy come up to me and say, hey, I bought this ball that Adam Vinatieri kicked to win a game or whatever. And it was a K ball. It was from the game. That thing was never on the field. That thing was never kicked one time. I told him that. He asked me and Vinny to sign it, and I was immediately like, nah, I don't think we kicked this ball, dude. Nah, yeah. That's ball 7. That thing would have never made it on the field.
Sorry.
But this was a K ball that was on the field when Vinny did kick it through, though. So we'll say, hey, Vinny did kick a ball through on the day that this ball was on a field as well. That's just all those things, the way things are termed, the way things are. That memorabilia game is fucking insane. And I guess the Hall of Fame has to be in on it too. What's going on, Zeke?
So Brady at postgame said that he doesn't keep any of his stuff. Is that a weird move?
Well, he got that one stolen, right?
Oh, that game jersey.
He had a jersey
the Super Bowl
stolen. And I would assume every one of Tom Brady's stuff the NFL keeps.
For sure.
Because there's the equipment room came up to me a couple times and they're like, is there any way you can sign this? This was your blah, blah, blah when Vinny did this or you did this and this is a moment that's going up in there. Will you sign like either a jersey or I was wearing a glove or something like that? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I think they immediately send it up there. So I wonder if it's always David Baker, whoever's going in for David Baker, and all the teams like, we need this, we need that. And they just negotiate a deal. And do the players see any of it, I wonder? Probably not.
If you're Brady, why would you keep it? If you're an alien, you have no reason to keep earthly possessions.
Oh, you're saying because it's going to end up not mattering anyways.
Yeah.
Because he's going right back to his planet.
Correct.
And that 600 ball will probably disintegrate in the atmosphere.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Plus, he only cares about the next ring. He doesn't care about the
On
600 ball.
re-entry.
He said he would have gave up 2 rings for that undefeated. You would give? Yeah, I'd give up 2 of the rings probably. Yeah, fucking take it, Rick, over there at Pawn Stars. Take these. Yeah, give me the undefeated season back. Deal. How you doing? Keep it moving.